So I'm gonna be really honest. I'm gonna be really honest. I did not know if I was gonna come back to this channel. A lot of things I considered making a new one. I considered starting from scratch on this one. I considered a lot of things. The deciding factor for me uploading right now and then really thinking about and like actually uploading more in the future is the fact that my kids, my students, found all of my social media, like all of it, and it's been a joy. Hello, welcome back to my channel once again. If this is your first time seeing my face, my name is Jonathan Pulliam. I hope you're having an amazing day. Let me just tell you, between grad school, between school, like work, between teaching, trying to be an adult, trying to manage like all of the things, being a creative and like doing things I really love and things that bring me joy has been hard to like fit into my schedule. And if you hear any like sirens, cars, any like people walking, laughing, having conversations behind the camera, it is because I live on the first floor of my apartment building and I'm like right on the street, so the entirety of New York enjoys walking past my window. So that's just that. We're using natural lighting. Excuse any like wonkiness because the weather in this city has been wonky. I really said that I was not, in my mind, I always planned to come back to YouTube. I really wanted to like keep making videos. And I said that for some reason I didn't want to do a video talking about my first year teaching. I'm a first year teacher in Brooklyn. I teach middle school. I said I wasn't going to do any videos about that until my first year was over and I could fully reflect and I could fully like reflect back on that. I want to make an entire full reflection, full walkthrough, full everything, ins and outs, the good, the bad, the ugly, on my first year teaching at the end of the year. Right now, this is just talking about if you are a college student, even a high school student, if you are someone that is interested in education, if you're someone that's even interested in becoming a teacher or working with kids on the regular, then this video is for you. Or if you're just like interested in seeing this handsome face in this hoodie that I definitely slept in. But it's okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how I got into teaching and what really like got me here. So if I think back to college, I went to Tuskegee University where I majored in English with a focus in African American literature and a minor in philosophy. So I was not an education major, I wasn't English education, I never took an education class. But what I was really invested in, what I really enjoyed, was helping other people get better at writing, helping people get better at like English and that sort of thing. So if I think back, I was one of the very few male English majors. I think it was like the only one in my dorm. And so what that meant was after like people are getting used to each other, after like I was starting to meet people, and I would say, oh, I'm an English major, I do like this, and they'd be like, really, like, the most frequent answer was, oh, so you're good at writing papers? And I was like, I mean, yes. And so what that meant was I would have guys constantly come into my room, you know, at 11:30, midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., all this stuff to get their papers edited, have someone look over their papers, personal statements, things like that. And it got to the point where it wasn't just like freshmen, but it was other like sophomores, juniors, upperclassmen that usually weren't in the humanities or were just kind of taking those beginning like general education, like gen eds, like your Englishes, your history, stuff like that. Anything that involved like a lower level paper, I probably helped someone edit at a random time at night. It was like taxing, though it was like sometimes a little bit like out of my way to do. I really liked the fact that someone else was learning and someone else was getting better at a skill, that a really necessary skill, because it was something that, because of me, right? So that helped me get better at editing, that helped me get better at writing, that helped me get better at reading and like really analyzing what I was doing in my own classes. And then it was about sophomore year where I joined this organization on campus. It was called Next Step Up. It was a mentoring and tutoring organization that worked with the high school and middle school that were pretty close to campus. So college students would come and help students after school with English, math, science, basically all their core classes, and then also ACT and SAT prep. So I was an English tutor, and I was an English tutor and a test prep tutor. So I was helping high school students really get prepared for the work that I was doing as a college freshman and sophomore. One of the guys I would tutor pretty frequently ended up coming to, when I started tutoring him, he was a senior, and then he ended up applying to and getting into Tuskegee, and he was a freshman when I was a junior. So yeah, it was just kind of really cool to see that whole thing like transpire. So yeah, I was a tutor pretty much sophomore through, officially a tutor pretty much sophomore through senior year, and I kept being in situations where I would help people learn. And then if you checked out any vlogs from like 2017, I was interning with Relay Grad School of Education. I have so many feelings. That's another video. United Negro College Fund in New Orleans, and I was teaching and doing a lot of like community and student engagement research, but that was my first time being in a classroom, making lesson plans, teaching kids, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with teaching literature, and I knew coming into senior year that was really something that I wanted to continue. And senior year happened, got through it, went through it, did it, graduated, and among a lot of other things, I graduated. I came home and I was teaching again at a summer prep program for high schoolers for like college prep. I was teaching English again, and I was also applying to different teaching positions and stuff like that. And so after applying, that's when I was applying to, I'm not going to name the school that I work with, but I was applying to a few different charter school network in New York, and I got a phone call. I sent in the application, got a phone call, did an interview, had my like application process expedited, and they're like, "Hey, are you free in like a week and a half? We'll fly you up to New York. We'll pay for your hotel, and if you want, we really want to have you come interview and do a demo lesson." And bright-eyed me, I was like, "Heck yeah!" I did my demo lesson. I did an interview. I did like a walkthrough of what the position was, and that I currently have, and I got an offer. I got an offer on the spot. I signed my my intent to return contract of like employment or something in my airport terminal that night when I was heading back to Alabama, and then about 2 weeks later I was sitting in not new teacher training but in like staff training for my school, and yeah, started teaching full-time in August of this year. And if I were to sum up my first year teaching in like one word or a couple phrases, it would be ask a lot of questions, get really clear on expectations, have fun, and it's hard. It's hard. And I think like my parents are very much aware of how my first year it's gone. But I think prioritizing like your own sanity, your own happiness, and then doing like the things that you still enjoy is going to be a huge factor, because like this job is not easy. This job is not like for the faint of heart, but if you can do it, I definitely will support you in that. To any new teachers that are maybe you're pre-service, you're finishing up your senior year of college and you're doing student teaching, maybe you're on some like track to like become a teacher in the next year or two, or just you're interested in education in general. I have a couple notes just on a few tips that I would give to new teachers. Tips that I would give to new teachers that definitely, thinking about where I am and like how this year gone, are things I would have appreciated someone telling me. Number one is to ask a ton of questions. That's, when I say that, I mean like ask a ton of questions in the interview, ask a ton of questions over the phone in the phone interview, ask a ton of questions. If you don't understand something, if you don't understand like the expectations that are being set, ask for clarity and like keep asking for clarity at your school. I will say that my experience has been in a charter school setting. This is my first year teacher. I teach at a charter school in Brooklyn, New York. So I feel like these tips are pretty universal to teachers in general, but if you have a different experience, if you have any more advice to new teachers, definitely leave that in the comment section below. Tip number 2 is to do your research. And do your research on, for me, more so, it was doing my research. I did so little research on the schools I was applying to. I knew that I wanted to be in a big city, so I was looking at like New York, I was looking at DC, Chicago, places where it was a big city, places where I would have a lot to do, and places where I saw a lot of changes happening in education, but also places where, as a 20-something, like, I'm not about to be here and be bored. Do your research just on the school that you're applying to. What are their values? Do they align to your values? What type of teaching models, do they use? How are teachers, how is success measured at that school? Because it's literally going to look different for every school setting. Shout out to Patrick and Antonia of the Common Sense podcast. It really got me thinking about like the interview process for schools. You're being interviewed, but also like you should be interviewing them. So ask them about like discipline policies, ask them about like parent-teacher communication, ask them about charter schools, do they use Teach Like a Champion? I have so many feelings about that, but that's a different video. Can you just like come to the school on a normal school day where there's like not testing, where they're not on an alternative schedule, and just like just post up and be in there? And I think had I done that, my expectations and my kind of outlook on it would have been just like a little bit different. Not drastically different, but just it's like a little bit. Tip number 3 is to don't put all your ducks in one. Wow, what is the saying? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Interview a lot. As a teacher, you're still a professional. This is still part of your career. I don't know, I feel like in other professions you're allowed to kind of play the game when you're looking for positions that best fit you. So in your interviewing process, in your interviewing process, in your like initial intake process, I feel like teachers, education professionals, you're still a professional, so you are still allowed to do what best suits you. There's always going to be a teacher position somewhere. So I feel like as teachers, we should have a little bit more like leeway and like acceptance in like what we are going to allow, what we're not going to allow, and like what positions we are going to take and what we are not going to take. So don't be afraid to interview or like apply for places outside of like your hometown, your home state, your region, because you never know. Tip number 4 is, as I look back at this stack of ungraded tests on my desk back there, is to do not take work home. You're getting up early, some days you're going to bed late, you are having to make a ton of decisions all throughout the day for all different types of situations, for all different types of students, for all different types of people, and I feel like as a teacher, you are there to do what is best for your kids, but I feel like you are there during the day to do what is best for your kids during the day. And I'm still not the best at this. I still take work home, and what I have found is that it does not put me into like the best headspace to be fully present at school, and then to like separate that when I'm at home. I don't believe in taking work home. I don't believe in doing work outside of like school unless it's like 100% necessary. I do believe in asking for more prep time during the day. I believe in making like the amount of work that you're doing outside of school known to like your admin, so that different supports can be in place, because at the beginning of the year it wasn't as bad. I had one like 40-minute morning prep time and one like 40-minute afternoon prep time, so I could get a lot of work done at school during the day. But the way things worked out right now, I don't have a prep time. I don't have like an official prep time during the day. In like the span of a 5-day week, I have like maybe an hour and a half, which that's like outrageous to me. I'm okay with staying late, but not every day. I usually stay late either Monday or Tuesday, and then I go home like when I need to go home throughout the rest of the week. And for me, setting that boundary, like I'm either going to stay late Monday or I'm going to stay late Tuesday, that helps me most weeks. The past like week has been a little bit weird because we're testing, we're on like different schedules, but don't take work home, stay late one day, really capitalize on your prep time, because that's going to like save you not constantly like working all the time, because it's really easy to work all the time. Tip number 5 is to have fun. Like, it's really easy to get bogged down with like the standards and the classroom management skills and like what needs to be done and lesson planning and this and that and the third. I feel like teaching like should be fun for both students, like should be fun for the teacher doing it, but should be fun for the kids. So if you want to try something new, just do it. If you see that something like it might be effective, but it's not like fun for you to do or fun for kids to work on, try something new. And I think especially the first year, you're like learning what works and what doesn't work for you, so don't be afraid to like try a lot of things right? And then see like what works, what doesn't work, what's good for kids, what's not good for kids, things like that. So have fun, try a bunch of new things, experiment in your classroom. And last tip is be kind to yourself. I'm still not the best at this, but I think I say this to some of my kids all the time. Like, part of getting good at something is not being good at it at the very beginning, right? So I'm a teacher, was not an education major, was not an education minor, never took an education class, did not go to new teacher training for my charter network. So that meant I came in to the classroom with a lot to learn. And as someone who's like, I'm a huge perfectionist, I'm like really self-critical of myself, and sometimes at the end of the day I have to remind myself, like, I can think of a million and one things that went wrong, but like really trying to hone in on what was like the one or two things that went right, and what did I do well. Be kind, just be kind, be gracious, be understanding to yourself, because that's what we want our students to do. As teachers, we want them to like lean into the idea of like failure is not permanent. They lean into the idea that they are constantly growing, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like it. And as teachers, we can be super critical of ourselves, but I think really and intentionally like being kind and letting myself step away from work some days, letting myself try something new, setting aside like very specific time for myself that I'm not working, has definitely been huge for me. So that was just a little bit about me, how I got into the classroom, a little bit about how my first year has gone, and just some tips to new teachers. If you are a new teacher, a veteran teacher, 3 or 4 years into this thing and you have any additional tips or experience to share, definitely put that in the comment section below. Once again, my name is Jonathan Pulliam. All of my social media links will be updated and listed in the comment section, in the description box below. And I will see you guys later. Once again, if you are one of my students, love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Do your homework. Bye.